Hi, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to show you how to crochet these mittens. Start by making a slip knot by wrapping the yarn around your fingers twice like this. Then use your crochet hook to pull the inner piece of yarn under the other and tighten like so. Now we can move on to the next step. The next step is to create the chain, so you simply grab the yarn and pull it through the loop and continue until you have a chain that is equivalent to the measurement from the top of your thumb down to your wrist. Once you have made a chain that is the same length as your measurement, you can move on to the next step. So turn your project and start making single crochets. You make a single crochet by diving into the loop, pulling up a loop of yarn like so, then grabbing the yarn and pulling it through the two loops on your hook. I'm going to show you a couple more. So I pull up a loop, grab the yarn, pull through, and then I continue like this until I have reached the other end of my project. Once you have reached the other end, just chain one, turn project, and now we're going to be making the ribbed effect at the bottom. So we're working into the back loop only, making single crochets into the first 8 stitches. So into the first 8 stitches, we're only going to be working into the back loop. And after that, I'm going to continue making just normal single crochets into the whole stitch until I have reached the other end of the project again. So single crochets into the back loop only for the first 8. I hope that you can see what I'm doing here in the video. It's quite simple once you get the hang of it. Alright, so I have reached the top once again, and now I'm going to increase by making 2 single crochets into the very last stitch. So I'm making 1 more single crochet, then chain 1, turn project, and make an increase at the top here as well. So 2 single crochets into the very first stitch. Then I'm continuing by making just normal single crochets all the way down, but make sure to not forget that we're only working into the back loop into the last 8 stitches. So in the last 8 stitches at the bottom, just work into the back loop and then you will get this ribbed effect. chain 1, turn project, and then continue with the ribbed effect at the bottom into the first 8, then the normal single crochets all the way to the top. And once we reach the top, we're going to make a decrease into the 2 last crochets to get that rounded top of the thumb. So single crochets all the way up, and then we're gonna make a decrease. Now we're going to make the decrease, so I'm pulling up a loop into the second to last stitch. I then pull up a loop into the very last one and grab the yarn, pull through, make a slip stitch, turn project, and do the same thing at this side as well. So I pull up a loop into the 2 first, then pull through and continue by making single crochets all the way down. And once again, don't forget about the ribbing. Only work into the back loops at the bottom into the last 8. So when you have worked all the way down again, chain 1, turn project, and continue with the ribbing at the bottom and then the stitches, the normal single crochets, until you have about 5 stitches at the top left. Here you can see I am measuring my thumb. I have about 5 stitches for my thumb. And now we're going to add this next part for the fingers by diving into the very same stitch that we just made a single crochet into, pulling up a loop and pulling through both of them. And this part is a bit tricky. We're going to dive in between these 2 loops. So in between, pulling up a loop so that we have 2 loops on our hook. Then just grab the yarn and pull through. Continue like this until you have the amount that you need in order to reach the top of your fingers. As you can see here, I'm laying the project out flat and then measure from the thumb to the top of my fingers. Then I chain 1, turn project, and continue working single crochets all the way down to the bottom. And I am of course making the ribbed effect at the bottom by only working into the back loop. So continue with the single crochets all the way to the bottom. Once I have reached the bottom, I am chaining one, turning project. I am making the ribbed effect at the bottom by only working into the back loop for the first 8, then continue with single crochets all the way to the top. Once I have reached the top, I'm going to increase, so I'm making 1 extra single crochet into the very last stitch. Then chain 1, turn project again, and work your way down. Don't forget to increase at this round as well, so make 1 extra single crochet into the first one. This is what gives the mitten its rounded effect at the top. And once you have increased, just continue working single crochets all the way to the bottom. Okay, so I've reached the bottom. Now we're gonna work our way to the top, and we're not gonna increase or decrease. We're just gonna continue doing the same thing for 5 rounds. At the end of round 5, we're going to be decreasing. So after 5 rounds, you should be back at the top. And now in order to decrease, you go into the second last one, pull up a loop, go into the last one, pull up a loop, grab the yarn and pull through both loops on your hook. Chain 1, turn project, then make a decrease at the top and then continue by making single crochets all the way down to the bottom. Once you have reached the bottom, chain 1, turn project, then continue doing single crochets all the way back to the top. Don't forget about the ribbed effect at the bottom, only work into the back loop for the first 8 stitches. Once you have reached the top and only have 1 stitch left, we're going to make an increase by making 2 single crochets into the last stitch. Then chain 1, turn project and increase here as well. So make 2 single crochets into the very first stitch and then continue making single crochets all the way down to the bottom. Don't forget about the ribbing at the bottom, only work into the back loop. Then make 5 rows where you don't increase or decrease at all, just like you did last time, and repeat 5 times in total. Okay, so now we're done with the 5 rows where we didn't increase or decrease. Now I chain 1, turn project and start with the row where we begin the other part of the thumb. So I'm gonna work my way down by making single crochets all the way down to the exact same point where I started the thumb last time. So work your way down and then double check that you are at the correct spot. And once you know that you are working in the right spot, you go into the same stitch once again and make these crochets that I showed you in the beginning. I made 5 crochets for the thumb, so I'm going to make this exact same amount for this thumb so that they match. So I make 5 of these by going into the last stitch, pulling up a loop, then grab the yarn and pull through both loops on your hook. Then repeat by going into the last stitch and pulling up a loop, grabbing the yarn and pulling through. So since my last thumb was made out of 5 stitches, I'm going to make 5 stitches this time as well, so that they match up when we sew it all together. Once you have made 5 stitches, chain 1, turn project, and work your way down to the top, back to the top. So 1 single crochet in each all the way to the top. At the top, chain 1, turn project, and work your way to the tip of the thumb. And here we're going to make an increase once again. So make 2 single crochets into the very last crochet, chain 1, turn project, and make 2 single crochets into the first crochet and work single crochets all the way back to the top of the part for the fingers, where you are going to make a decrease so that we get the rounded effect for the fingers as well. Make the decrease by going into the second to last stitch, pull up a loop, then go into the very last one and pull up another loop. Grab the yarn, pull through both loops on your hook, chain 1, turn project, then do the same thing into the 2 first, like so, and continue by making single crochets all the way back to the top of the thumb, where we are going to make a decrease once again, just the same way we just did. Here's a closer look at how I decrease at the top of the thumb. I pull up a loop, go into the very last stitch, pull up a loop, grab the yarn, pull through, chain 1, turn project, and decrease once again by going into the first stitch, pulling up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, grab the yarn and pull through. Then I will continue by making single crochets all the way back to the top, where I'm not going to increase or decrease anything. We're just going to cut the yarn off, secure it, and then we're done. Okay, so the last step is to sew it all together. And the only thing that makes the left and the right mitten different is the way you fold it. So what I just showed you is how you fold the left mitten, and then you simply sew it all together from edge to edge, just like so. And for the right mitten, you flip it and fold it like this. I grab one part and fold it over, fold the thumb upwards, place the other part of the thumb on top, and sew it all together from edge to edge, just like this. I have chosen to use blanket stitches for this, but you can choose another kind of stitch depending on what you're most comfortable with or what you prefer. You can also crochet the mittens together by just crocheting from edge to edge with slip stitches. It's not really that important. Just make sure that the mittens are sewn together tightly and that there's no holes or edges. And when you have sewn it all together, you're done. You can tie a knot, fasten the yarn, and cut it off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed crocheting these mittens together with me. Have a good one. Bye!